Is what we've all woken to this morning, I'm afraid, in place until further notice, it seems. Eskom announcing those power cuts into stage 4 yesterday. The embattled utility says it's due to two reasons. Those reasons have names. One is Kendal and the other is Lethabo. Apparently, those power stations have tripped. Dare I say, let's shed some light on the situation with energy analyst Tshepo Kgadima, who somehow manages to have some light at home. Tshepo, morning to you. Good to have you with us. Help me understand, how do power stations of this size just trip? My DB board at home, that trips when I put the kettle on. How does a power station trip?
Well, that tells you that in terms of the Eskom technicians and everyone else, they are not following the standard operating procedures for those power stations. And also, it, I think, makes an interesting question as to what are we to make of the 2 weeks ago when we were told that Solidarity Trade Union has seconded so many engineers who were going to come to the rescue. And what are we to make of the newly installed board that we were told 5 days ago that they were replete with engineering skills and that these were the people to take us out of this morass. Now, here is what is interesting. The retort of tripped units is something that has been for as long as there's been load shedding. Eskom tells us about that. The question is, what exactly have they developed in terms of their approach to maintenance, to repairs, that should have been able to anticipate when a unit is about to trip? Now, just 2 days ago, for example, we know that we had a heat wave. Now, did that heat wave have any bearing on these two power stations units breaking down? But why did the other units not break down if they are being operated in exactly the same manner? And also, what are we to make as a nation that we have a newly installed board? Has not even any one of them seen any of the boilers, the generators, the turbines at Eskom in operation where the so-called unit trips are happening. So, and also to have an announcement that, look, this is going to continue indefinitely, it is just totally unacceptable, because also no one is accounting for the revenue losses every time there's any stage of load shedding, because we must bear this in mind.
Let's talk about bearing things in mind. We've been told we must bear in mind and be patient as we deal with this energy crisis, and you've nailed it on the head as well. New board has come in as well, but at what point is it becoming unacceptable for us to wait for the new board to make any difference? Because we're being told, Tshepo, aren't we, that we need to give this new board about 12 months to get on their feet. It's too long. If there's engineers there, as you say, why aren't we seeing them on the ground with a hard hat, walking around and flipping on switches? You can talk politics and policy and regulations and red tape till you go blue in the face, but we need someone to put these lights on.
Well, if the new board requires 12 months to be acquainted with the situation, we have the wrong board. They might just as leave today, because they have got 90 days. And I've said this before. Professor Michael Watkins from Harvard University has said that any leadership, and particularly in a corporate turnaround situation for a company in distress, as well as in requirement of urgent restructuring of its management and operations, you can't go and ask for 12 months because the economy will be completely decimated. Bear this in mind. There's about 15,000 megawatts we are told is in permanent breakdown. We are told there's 5,000 megawatts that is on planned maintenance. The question becomes, out of the 50,000 megawatts or so, if you deduct the 15,000, it means you are left with 35,000, and then you take out the 5,000 that is on planned maintenance. How can it therefore be that it is a monthly occurrence, meaning that the maintenance that is happening, there is no warranties given on that maintenance, and Eskom management themselves don't even know how long the plant is supposed to operate post the maintenance, and hence we are having all these problems. But all of that is because we cannot belabor the point or overemphasize the point that the top management you have at Eskom is completely clueless. The action should have been taken to remove them and bring in people who know exactly how power plants function. The new board, on the account of asking for time as long as 12 months, that on its own was grounds for their summary dismissal because they are simply the wrong people. But it should not surprise us because none of them were interviewed. They were asked to raise their hands, which they did, and now here we have a new board. But none of them were interviewed. We don't know what exactly do they know about this entity. And the previous board took a decision to bring on board the so-called engineers from Solidarity Trade Union. How can it be therefore that 2 weeks later, they themselves are still in the dark? There is something that is going to be, I don't have enough ways to describe what will happen, because the moment you get to a language where they tell us that they don't even know how long the stage 4 load shedding is going to last for, it tells you that you must expect the worst because they don't know which is one of their next power stations that is going to trip, that is going to break down.
I hate to use the cliche, but it's almost like shooting into the dark.